My name is Diana Fletcher, 38 years old, 6 years of marriage, 2 before that of dating, and I thought we understood each other, the quiet shorthand of shared life. I was wrong. The first crack didn't come in a fight. It came as a trend. Matthew had started his TikTok account last year. It was harmless at first, cooking montages, funny marriage skits, weekend routines. I even helped him film sometimes, holding the ring light steady while he rehearsed jokes. He'd kiss my cheek, tell me I was the best director he could ask for. Back then, it felt like partnership. Then his following grew, slowly, then all at once. I noticed the way his tone changed when he spoke to the camera, softer, smugger, rehearsed. He'd start calling our marriage content. I laughed it off. You laugh a lot in a marriage when you don't want to start an argument. 3 weeks ago, he posted one of those trending videos, 10 things I'd change about my wife. He filmed it in our living room while I was at work. When I came home that night, the ring light was still on. The cushions were tossed aside. My face, apparently, was already trending. The first thing I saw wasn't the video itself, it was the comment notification. She sounds unbearable. Then another. She's lucky he puts up with her. I opened the video. 10 numbered captions flashed on screen as he narrated, smirking. 1. Her control issues. 2. Her boring job. 3. Her obsession with planners and lists. 4. Her lack of spontaneity. 5. Her passive-aggressive size. 6. Her need for validation. 7. Her weird family dinners. 8. Her fashion sense. Sorry, babe. Beige isn't a personality. 9. Her cooking. Chicken again. Surprise. 10. Her bedroom enthusiasm or lack thereof. He laughed between them. The camera stayed steady, the music upbeat, the captions bouncy and pink. By the time I finished watching, it had 400,000 views. I sat on the couch where he filmed it and watched the numbers climb. The comments filled faster than I could scroll, half roasting me, half praising him for being brave enough to joke about marriage. When he came home, I asked, "Why would you post that?" "It's just comedy, Di." He grinned, dropping his bag. "Everyone's doing it. Everyone's not married to me." He kissed my forehead like that fixed anything. "Relax. You're too sensitive." That word, sensitive, fell like a slap made of honey. The next morning, my cousin sent me a link. "Your husband's going viral." His tone in the text was light, but it hurt like something heavy dropped through my chest. I commented under Matthew's video without thinking. "Great list. Here's mine. 1. The husband." Then I closed the app. By the end of the day, my comment had more likes than his video. When Matthew got home, he was furious. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone," he snapped. "You embarrassed me first." "It was just a joke." "So was mine." "You don't understand social media." "No," I said, voice shaking. "I understand humiliation." He called me dramatic. He said I should be proud to have a husband people found funny. I stared at him, trying to find the man who used to tell me jokes in the car when I cried on the way home from work. That man was gone, replaced by a persona who measured affection in likes. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, scrolling through comments. The glow of my phone made everything look smaller, even me. People debated whether I was too uptight or deserved better. Strangers had opinions about my marriage like it was a TV show. One comment stood out. "She's going to leave him on live stream. Watch." I read it 3 times. Then I whispered, "Maybe I will." By sunrise, I'd made a list of my own. Not of grievances, of logistics, divorce attorneys, rental apartments, storage units, password changes. But first, I needed proof. I screenshotted every video, every caption, every DM. I recorded the comment section, the timestamps, the analytics. I'd seen enough influencer scandals online to know that screenshots were oxygen when the world started choking you with lies. 2 days later, I met with a lawyer named Petra Nguyen. She wore a navy suit and spoke like a woman who'd learned to fit her fury into clean sentences. "Do you want to serve him at home or at work?" she asked. "Neither," I said. "I want to serve him on camera." Petra raised an eyebrow. "For social media?" "For closure." She didn't flinch. "Process servers can record their work for safety. What you do with that footage is your choice." We scheduled it for Thursday, the same day he always filmed his self-care routine. Thursday came. Matthew wore his usual black gym outfit, his hair still damp from a workout. He'd just finished filming a skit about husband chores. The irony was almost holy. From my car across the parking lot, I watched the process server, a broad-shouldered woman named Valentina, walk up to him. "Matthew Fletcher?" she asked. He looked up from his phone, still smiling for his followers. Yeah, you've been served. She handed him the envelope and kept the camera steady. His expression shifted, confusion, disbelief, rage, all in 3 heartbeats. Are you filming me? He shouted. Valentina didn't answer. She just turned and walked away. Matthew tore open the papers, eyes flicking across the first line. Then he saw me, across the street, sitting in my car. He dropped the papers, started walking toward me fast. Are you serious right now? I rolled down the window. My voice was calm, too calm. It's just content, babe. Don't be so sensitive. The look on his face, that flicker between shock and shame, told me he finally understood how it felt. I drove away before he could speak. That night, I posted the video. Caption: response to my husband's list. Divorce papers, marriage content. Just a joke. Don't be so sensitive. Within 12 hours, it had 2 million views. Comments flooded in. Queen behavior. The poetic justice. He deserved that. News outlets picked it up. The headline made me laugh and wince at once. Wife's epic response to husband's cruel TikTok goes viral. Matthew texted me once, "You destroyed my reputation for a trend." I typed back, "No, you destroyed our marriage for one." Then I blocked him. The world loves revenge stories. They don't talk about what happens when the notifications stop. The night after, my phone sat silent on the counter. The house echoed. I walked past the ring light, still standing in the corner of our living room. The glow of it, cold, hollow, looked like a ghost that hadn't realized it was dead. I unplugged it. The room went dark. But the story was just beginning. The morning after the post, the house looked the same but sounded different. Even the kettle had a sharper boil. My phone pulsed on the counter, a heartbeat I didn't want, and when I finally turned it face up, the notifications stacked like falling bricks. Reporters wanted statements. Strangers sent heart emojis and courtroom gifs. People stitched the video with triumphant music and captions that pronounced me healed, as if a viral arc could replace a marriage. Matthew went live that afternoon. I saw it because my cousin texted me. He's spinning. The stream opened, with him in our bedroom, ring light resurrected, voice soft like a bedtime story for adults who mistake performance for honesty. I want to address what my wife did, he began. He called the divorce a stunt, called me controlling, called the video humiliation. He blinked hard at the camera. I'm not perfect, he said, but I've been emotionally abused for years. The chat bloomed with sympathy, like algae. Believe Matthew. Stay strong, King. Someone typed that maybe I had narc traits. Another said I weaponized feminism for clout. He drank from a mug with the word humble on it and pretended to compose himself. I just want to heal, he said. I just want to be free. I closed the stream. The sound of it left a film on my skin. Petra called 5 minutes later. He went nuclear, she said, not even waiting for hello. We stay boring and precise. I'll file, then we hold. Meanwhile, keep gathering. Archive everything. I already am. Good. Also, she added, voice turning dry, that mug. I laughed once, the kind that makes tears easier. Humble, I said. On-brand irony. We'll use the live. The chat, too. She paused. How are you? Shaky, I said. Calm. Both. That's normal. Remember your North Star. Dignity, boundaries, truth, not victory laps. Let the internet run. We don't. He posted 3 more videos in 24 hours. One called My Truth, filmed with lighting soft enough to flatter a confession. One called When Your Wife Can't Take a Joke, edited with jump cuts, him clutching a throw pillow like a hostage of his own narrative. And one with sponsorship tags, selling a teeth-whitening kit with a discount code under a caption about resilience. I stared at the affiliate link like it was a slur. I went to the bedroom and opened the bottom drawer of the dresser, the one I always called the quiet drawer. Inside, our wedding photos, a pressed flower, the letter he wrote when he proposed, still warm with promises that hadn't aged well. I tucked them deeper, then reached for my laptop instead. Screenshots, downloads, PDFs. I pulled receipts from banks and backups from clouds. I didn't know if I'd ever be believed without them, but I knew I wouldn't be gaslit into losing my memory of what had happened. By evening, brand deals were courting him. The same companies that DM'd me to offer self-care boxes for women on International Women's Day were now congratulating him on bravery. He reposted the emails with blurred names, a victory parade built from inbox fodder. He captioned one story: "Sometimes losing a wife means finding yourself." I didn't comment. I forwarded everything to Petra. Valentina sent me the raw footage of serving him, unedited, his first reaction before he remembered to perform. There was a frame where his face looked honest because it wasn't yet about an audience. I saved that, not for court, for me. Proof I wasn't insane. The next morning, Petra had paperwork ready, clean and efficient, names and numbers, and a line that said irretrievably broken that made something in my chest go glassy. We met in her office, fluorescent light trimmed with a bowl of peppermints and a stack of military memoirs on her shelf. "He'll file counters," she said. "Maybe defamation, maybe financial claims. Possibly he'll try an abuse narrative. He's signaling it already. We'll end run him with evidence." "What if he lies better?" I asked. "He will," she said, "but he won't lie with better documentation." She slid a legal pad toward me. "Tell me everything you can prove." We built a list. Times he filmed arguments and uploaded them to a private folder titled Drafts, pretending his camera was a shield, not a blade. Clips where he laughed about spending my bonus on brand building while telling me we couldn't afford my father's birthday dinner. A live where he admitted he only married me because she's stable and won't leave, said with a smirk, to 3,000 strangers, who sent him fire emojis like it was applause. The night he threw my planner in the trash and told me to schedule spontaneity if it made me feel safe. The morning he set up the ring light during a fight and said, half joking, "If you're going to cry, at least make it content." The afternoon he moved $3,200 from our joint account into a business fund that paid for equipment he wrote off and dates he didn't take me on. I didn't cry in Petra's office. I arranged the details like cutlery on a table, everything in its proper place so the meal wouldn't stain. "Single-party consent," she confirmed, glancing at the statute. "You can legally record your own conversations in this state, and the streams, the posts, public. His DMs, we'll subpoena. He will underestimate our patience." He did. He posted another video that night called Rebuilding After Betrayal, selling a $299 course for men recovering from toxic marriages. The trailer featured him in a hoodie, speaking into a microphone like a youth pastor who discovered branding. "You are not what they say you are," he whispered. "You are your own truth." The comment section praised him for educating kings. I watched with my jaw clenched so tightly that the next morning I had a headache I could feel in my molars. "Let him build his rope," Petra said when I texted her the link. "We'll measure it later." The countersuit came on a Friday, couriered in a slim manila envelope that felt heavier than it was. Defamation. Emotional distress. Loss of influencer income due to my malicious post. Full ownership of the house I'd purchased before marriage, because his attorney wrote without a blink, her brand was supported by his online growth. Lifetime alimony. My grandmother's camera collection, which he called production assets. I read that line twice, a laugh catching in my throat and coming out wounded. Petra skimmed, expression unmoved. "Aggressive, predictable, sloppy," she said, flicking at a typo like a gnat. "We'll answer point by point. Meanwhile, we file discovery." In the quiet between tasks, the other kind of life kept trying to happen. My mother called to ask if I was eating. My friend left soup on my porch and a note that said, simply, "Proud of you." The neighbor's kid returned my measuring cup. At night, the house sounded like a stranger learning to speak. Matthew made a statement video on Sunday morning. Full glam, designer hoodie, eyes gloss jade. "I tried my best," he said. "She's destroying me for clout." He accused me of monitoring his social media, isolating him from friends, gaslighting. He wiped a tear. "This is what narcissistic abuse looks like," he told 3 million people. I closed the app and sat on the kitchen floor, back against the cabinets, and counted backward from 100 until the panic attack loosened its laces. Then I stood up and made tea like I'd always known how. On Monday, Petra called. Her voice carried a new thread of electricity. "We have something," she said. "A lot of somethings." "What kind?" "Drafts," she said, "and caches. He's careless." She'd hired a forensic consultant to scrape his public accounts and linked clouds. We found deleted lives, rehearsals, notes. He storyboarded a narrative 2 months ago. If she pushes back, pivot to abuse. If she documents, call it surveillance. Learn trauma buzzwords. Secure sponsor tie-ins. He literally wrote, if I frame myself as the wounded party, engagement goes up 30 to 40%. Her tone didn't change, but the air in my lungs did. I listened without speaking while she listed file names like confessions. Abuse mythos intro move, cry take 3, better lighting.mp4, DM brand pitch, authentic healing.doc. Jesus, I whispered. Also, she added, almost as an afterthought, there's a screen recording where he and someone named Brick discuss strategy. Brick tells him to lean into the victim arc and says, courts won't check content nuance. They laugh. A part of me wanted to vomit. Another part of me, the one that had unplugged the ring light and labeled receipts and kept breathing when strangers told me who I was, felt very still. We file amended exhibits, Petra said. We attach timestamps, hashes. We let his own footage teach the court who he is. I walked to the living room. The ring light was still in the corner, unplugged, blank as a moon with its power stolen. I leaned it on its side and watched it become a circle on the floor instead of a halo for lies. Diana, Petra said, softer now. You did nothing wrong. I know, I said. The words surprised me by being true. What happens next? Depositions, she said, then court. But first, we send a preservation letter. He'll panic. He'll post. Do not engage. Okay. Get some sleep. After we hung up, I stood at the window and watched dusk erase the street in even strokes. A couple walked a beagle that stopped at every tree with serious concentration. A kid biked past one-handed, triumphant, unaware of every adult trying not to fall in their own way. In the glass, my face looked like a woman I recognized again. I turned from the window, opened my laptop, and dragged a folder onto the desktop. I named it simply, Proof. Then I closed the lid and for the first time in weeks didn't check my phone before bed. In the morning, Matthew posted a new video titled, When She Weaponizes the Court. His voice shook. His eyes shone. The captions begged empathy. But in the corner, frozen by a forensics tool Petra had shown me, I could see the file name flashing for a split second when he toggled screens. Cry take 3, better lighting.mp4. I smiled without joy. The truth had begun taking notes. When Petra told me the court date, my first thought wasn't fear. It was relief. Relief that there would finally be a room that didn't allow edits, filters, or hashtags. A space where silence carried more weight than a viral sound. The courthouse was colder than I expected. I wore gray, not as symbolism, but because it felt like armor. Petra arrived with 2 large folders, her hair tied back tight, eyes sharp enough to slice through any headline. She looked at me once and said, breathe. Let him perform. We'll speak in facts. Matthew arrived with his lawyer, a man too young to be this smug, holding a designer briefcase like it was proof of competence. Matthew wore an outfit that looked expensive but unplanned, the kind that says I woke up broken but photogenic. Behind him trailed 2 camera crews, independent documentarians, his lawyer claimed. The judge shut that down before they sat. The internet couldn't enter here, only echoes of it. When the session began, his lawyer stood first. Your Honor, he began with a voice polished like marble. This case isn't about a marriage. It's about an attempt to destroy a man's livelihood through public humiliation. My client, a content creator, used humor as coping. His wife weaponized it as vengeance. I watched Matthew's face while his lawyer spoke, the way he tilted his head, the practiced sorrow, the eyes glassy on cue. He could have taught a masterclass in performative remorse. Petra didn't interrupt. She let the silence after his opening hang, like she was waiting for the air itself to call him out. Then she stood. This case, she said evenly, is about consent. The consent to privacy, to dignity, to truth. My client never agreed to become entertainment. Her husband made her humiliation his currency, and when she reclaimed her narrative, he did what narcissists always do. He tried to turn his guilt into a brand. The judge raised an eyebrow but didn't stop her. Petra motioned toward the projector. We'll let the evidence speak. The first video that played wasn't one of Matthew's official posts. It was a draft file, recovered from his cloud, a rehearsal for the 10 things I'd change about my wife video. He was adjusting lighting, practicing lines, testing inflection. Too harsh? Okay, let's try. She's a control freak with a laugh this time. He smirked. That feels funnier. The courtroom was quiet except for the tinny playback. Even the bailiff looked uncomfortable. Petra pressed spacebar again. The next clip was a screen recording. His messages with Brick, the same friend who'd encouraged him to go viral. Brick. Drama equals engagement. Matthew. Yeah, pain converts. Maybe I'll cry on camera next. Brick. Do it. People eat that up. Petra didn't glance at me. She didn't need to. I kept my face still, hands clasped in my lap, nails digging half moons into my palms. His lawyer stammered something about context, but Petra was merciless. Here's more context, she said. Exhibit 23. Another clip. A private live stream he'd deleted after a minute. He was drunk, leaning too close to the camera. She doesn't even get it, he said, voice thick. Marriage is marketing now. You either sell the story or someone else writes it for you. The judge exhaled. Mr. Fletcher, is this your voice? He hesitated. It was taken out of context. The judge's eyes hardened. What context makes monetizing humiliation acceptable? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. It was a parody. Of whom? She asked dryly. He didn't answer. Then Petra dimmed the lights. One last clip, Your Honor. The video began mid-argument, the one he'd secretly recorded months ago. I remembered that night. I'd been crying because he'd emptied our joint savings into his brand expansion fund. On the screen, I looked tired, voice shaking. Matthew, I just need you to stop using me as material. He laughed on camera. If you'd stop reacting, it wouldn't trend. The courtroom stayed silent even after the playback ended. The judge rubbed her temple, sighed, and said softly, I've heard enough. By the time she read the verdict, Matthew wasn't looking at me anymore. The court denied all of his claims. His defamation suit was dismissed. The house, the assets, the camera equipment, all legally mine. He was ordered to repay the $32,000 he siphoned from our accounts and cover my legal fees in full. His lawyer's pen stopped moving halfway through the ruling, as if even ink didn't want to continue. When it was over, the judge looked directly at Matthew. Mr. Fletcher, she said, you are not a victim of content theft. You are the architect of your own exposure. I felt the words land, not just in him, in me too, because exposure cuts both ways. As we left the courtroom, flashes went off outside the doors, reporters waiting for a quote. Petra shielded me with her folder, murmuring, eyes forward. Matthew tried to speak over the noise. You'll regret this, he shouted after me. You destroyed me. I didn't turn around. I just said, you did that yourself. That night, I didn't celebrate. I didn't open champagne or scroll the headlines. I sat in the quiet of my kitchen, hands wrapped around a mug of tea, and waited to feel something like triumph. It didn't come. Winning feels nothing like justice. It feels like silence after an explosion. Air too still. Dust still falling. Petra texted me around midnight. He's posting again. I opened the app against my better judgment. Matthew was live, crying harder this time. She lied in court, he said, sniffing. I loved her. She manipulated the system. His followers spammed broken heart emojis. He held up his trembling hand to the camera, the wedding ring still on it. But in the background, barely visible, was his computer monitor, and on it, a paused video titled Cry Take 4 Best Lighting MP4. The internet noticed. Within hours, screenshots of that file name flooded Twitter and Reddit. Someone slowed the footage, zoomed in, confirmed the reflection. Hashtags flipped. Believe Matthew turned into #Matthew Take 4. Sponsors dropped him overnight. His toxic marriage recovery course vanished from every platform. The apology video he posted the next morning, all black hoodie and candlelight, was instantly parodied by the same followers who'd once worshipped him. By afternoon, his account went private. By evening, gone. Petra called with an exhale I could hear even through the phone. He's finished, she said. I know. What will you do now? I don't know, I admitted. Start over, I guess. I walked to the closet and pulled out the box I'd buried at the bottom months ago. The photos, the pressed flower, the proposal letter. I took out one picture of us smiling at the beach. The camera had caught the moment between waves and laughter before performance became default. I slipped it into a drawer, not out of sentiment, but as evidence that once, before all the noise, something human existed. The next morning, I filmed my own video, the first one since the divorce. No filters, no music, just me, sitting by the window with sunlight on my face. I don't have advice, I said into the lens. Just a reminder. If someone keeps turning your pain into their storyline, close the book. You don't have to prove you're real to people who profit from pretending. I paused, smiled once. Some of us choose silence not because we lost, but because we finally understand that peace doesn't need an audience. I turned the camera off mid-sentence. The screen went black. Freedom doesn't announce itself with confetti. It comes quietly, like morning light, sneaking through a curtain you forgot to close. A month after the trial, the house began to sound like itself again. The refrigerator hum returned to normal. The echo in the hallway stopped feeling haunted. My phone, once a weapon of humiliation, now rested on the table without buzzing. Sometimes silence feels heavier than noise, but at least it's yours. Matthew's name still popped up in headlines for a while. Disgraced influencer Matthew Fletcher deletes social media after public trial. Matthew Take 4 ends a TikTok career. Each article recycled the same images: the courtroom stills, the ring light reflection, the cry take for best lighting MP4. They called me the ex-wife who exposed the illusion. I didn't comment on any of them. I didn't want to be a symbol. I just wanted to live a life that didn't need subtitles. Petra closed the case file one afternoon in her office. "You're officially done," she said, pushing the final paperwork toward me. "No more hearings, no appeals." I stared at my signature beside the words, "Final decree." "It doesn't feel like done," I admitted. She nodded. "It never does. Closure's not a moment. It's maintenance." I thanked her. She told me to keep my receipts, not the legal ones, but the emotional kind, the proof that I'd survived. The next week, I cleared out the last of Matthew's boxes from the garage. Inside were things I'd stopped noticing: cables, tripods, notebooks of content ideas, each page starting with the words, "story concept." Every idea was about us, our life, my life. I stood there with my hand on the box for a long time, then carried it to the curb. The neighbor, an older man who never knew the details, saw me and smiled. "Spring cleaning?" "Something like that," I said. He nodded as if he understood more than I'd said. That night, I cooked dinner for the first time in months without setting a plate for someone else. The sound of vegetables sizzling in the pan was louder than I remembered. I poured a glass of wine, sat at the table alone, and ate slowly. Every bite felt like reclaiming oxygen. When dishes were done, I walked into the living room where the ring light used to stand. The corner was empty now, the outlet bare. I'd thrown it away weeks ago, but sometimes my eyes still searched for it, a reflex like checking a wound that's finally healed. I opened my laptop, not to scroll, but to start something new. A blank document waited. The cursor blinked patiently. I typed, "This is not revenge. This is recovery." I didn't know if it would be an essay, a book, or just therapy in text form, but the words felt clean, unperformative. The next morning, I started walking again. Real walking. Outside, not on a treadmill under artificial light. The air had that damp spring smell of grass and change. I passed people talking to their phones, filming their breakfasts, narrating their days. None of them noticed me, and I was grateful. Halfway around the block, I ran into my friend Layla, the one who'd left soup on my porch. She looked at me, squinted, and said, "You look peaceful." "I think I am," I said, "or I'm learning how to be." She hugged me. That's rarer than going viral. A week later, Petra texted me a link. "Thought you should see this." It was a new channel, some faceless YouTube documentary about the case. They'd used old clips, tabloid footage, slow piano music. The title read, "The Woman Who Took Down a TikTok Narcissist." I didn't click it. The story belonged to the internet now. The life belonged to me. I found a therapist named Dr. Rowan who specialized in digital trauma, the kind of pain you get when your heartbreak is screenshotted by millions. The first thing she asked was, "When was the last time you were just Diana, not Diana Fletcher from TikTok?" I laughed. "Maybe never." She smiled gently. "Then that's where we start." Therapy was slow. Some days I left feeling raw, other days lighter. I learned how to sit with silence, how to name the grief under the anger, how to forgive myself for staying as long as I did. Forgiveness didn't mean excusing him. It meant I stopped replaying the same arguments in my head at 3 a.m. One evening, I walked into a thrift store. On a dusty shelf sat an old camera, 1960s model, cracked leather case, a bit of rust on the latch. The clerk said it didn't work, but I bought it anyway. When I got home, I cleaned it carefully, piece by piece. The lens caught the light just enough to make me smile. That night, I placed it on my bookshelf beside a small plant. I whispered to the camera, "Not everything that captures light needs to go viral." I started writing again, short essays about digital noise, identity, and what it means to be seen for the wrong reasons. A magazine picked one up. The editor emailed saying, "Your piece feels honest in a way the internet forgot how to be." The essay went modestly viral, the quiet kind of attention. No hashtags, no outrage, just people saying, "I've been there." That was enough. A few months later, I opened a small account, private this time, where I shared photos of sunrises, recipes, and stray cats that wandered near my porch. No filters, no trends, no performative healing quotes, just moments that didn't need an audience to matter. One morning, I got a message from a woman I didn't know. She wrote, "Your story helped me leave mine." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "You did that yourself. I just left the light on." That afternoon, I brewed coffee and sat by the window. The world outside was noisy. Cars, birds, the hum of a lawnmower. But inside, everything felt steady. I realized I didn't need to erase the past. I just had to outgrow it. The final time I looked at Matthew's name online, it was in a tiny headline. Former influencer, Matthew Fletcher declares bankruptcy. There was no photo, no fanfare, just words. I read them once, closed the tab, and never searched again. I've learned something about endings. They don't arrive with applause. They arrive when you no longer need one. I turned my phone face down and let it stay that way. Then I stood, opened the window, and breathed.